Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, the old song does say to smile like your heart is breaking, but if that smile you see ends up killing you, then you've got a whole different set of problems. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do because, quite frankly, you're listening right now. Then you're going to subscribe. Please subscribe to the podcast. We're pretty much everywhere. We're on all major platforms like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, give us the old 5-star rating. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on the social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, and the TikTok. A couple of new ones there. But please follow us at In the Seats for all sorts of updates and fun sort of stuff. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because you know what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it when you swing by and read about it and listen about it. So please, pay us a visit. On this episode, boy, we got a fun one. This is a movie that was probably the surprise of the fall season. It's Smile. It's available on video-on-demand platforms now, but it's also coming out on 4K Blu-ray and DVD, I do believe on December 6th, to all major retailers. But I mean, it's a wild story, as it's the story of Dr. Rose Cotter, played rather well, effectively, by Sosie Bacon, who witnesses a bizarre but traumatic incident involving one of her patients, and she starts experiencing these frightening occurrences that, you know, she really can't explain. And Rose has to confront her past in order to survive and escape this reality, which is slowly but surely starting to creep in on her. To say that Smile is unsettling would be an understatement, because this movie is creepy as all hell, and it is from the mind of writer-director Parker Finn, who we had the unique pleasure of sitting down and talking with about sort of the origins of the story, the surprise of the success of the film, and so very much more. And like I said, if you haven't seen Smile, you can either check it out on video on demand. You can also check it out on Paramount Plus for stream. You know, if you, it is a fantastic streaming service, which I do recommend signing up for. And plus, it will be available on 4K, Blu-ray, and DVD. Like I said, pretty sure December 6th. But first, enjoy our talk with Parker, because between you and me, it is a darn good one. Parker, obviously, first off, man, just thank you so much for the time today, man, and congrats on the movie. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, thank you very much. Nice to meet you, David.
Nice to meet you, man. I mean, I'll say it. It's fucked up. This movie is completely fucked up. I loved it. Like, walk me through sort of the origin of the story on your end.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think so. Sort of, obviously, it started with a short film I had made, which sort of was the springboard for what eventually became Smile. But you know, I was just really interested in sort of you know, trying to tell a story that was looking at all the stuff that we're walking around, you know, carrying inside of our heads, you know, all of our guilt and our traumas and our anxieties, and seeing if I could take all that internal stuff and sort of collide it with this really big external bombastic, potentially supernatural thing, and sort of twist them together and see if I could just make this like kind of crazy nightmarish ride out of it.
Loved it, man. Love it. But I mean, like, one of the things about this film that really stood out for me, because I mean, I'll be honest, you know, when you're home watching a screener, it's hard to sort of get invested. But I mean, I'm in the dark, I'm on the edge of my seat. It really got me. But I think the thing that got me was sort of the visual aesthetic of it all that you set up, that like in an almost sort of kaleidoscopic kind of fish lens kind of way. Can you talk a little bit about how you wanted this movie to look visually? Because I mean, to me, this is definitely a bit more artistic maybe than I've even seen other horror movies, really recent ones anyway.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you. First of all, it's a big compliment. I appreciate that. Yeah, we worked very hard to establish a really specific sort of bespoke, visual cinematic language for the film. And I mean, that's me and all my collaborators working with my DP Charlie Saroff and my production designer Lester Cohen, costume designer Alexis Forte. We wanted to really, for like 95% of the film, make sure we were avoiding any and all sort of like horror tropes or things that people have, the sort of like creature comforts of horror, I think that sort of signal that you're in a horror movie. And instead we wanted to do something that sort of just felt like this hazy, almost like liminal sort of just strange space and atmosphere that you're in, that the whole thing, like from the moment that we enter the film, feels kind of like you're inside of a nightmare that's just getting worse and worse and worse. And so yeah, there's a lot of visual tricks that we did, everything from the color palette to the camera and the lenses we chose, and specifically how we framed shots and allowed the pacing of shots to work, but all that stuff sort of coming together to sort of create this overwhelmingly oppressive, off-kilter atmosphere.
I mean, was that sort of the goal from minute one? Because I mean, it's not necessarily a quote unquote scary film by traditional standards. It's unsettling. Like, was that always the vibe that you wanted to make?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, we sort of started with these sort of like big ideas of how the film would feel to experience, and how we could sort of create this kind of mesmeric thing that you can't look away from. And that was a big part of it, and wanting the audience to sort of feel what the character is feeling. I mean, the movie places you so strongly in Rose's subjective, and we wanted the audience to experience what she's feeling. If we could use the filmic language to achieve that was the goal.
Now, I mean, how did you sort of settle on your Rose? Because I mean, to find an actor who's willing to go through the ringer like she did to play this character, I mean, I can imagine it was an extensive process to find the right person who could really embrace the material.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways the character could have gone, but I mean, I knew from the beginning that the entire film was going to hinge upon that performance. Rose is in almost every scene. We are so closely tied to her that if we need the audience to be willing to go on that journey with her. And I've been meeting with actors, and when I had met Sosie, just right away there was something about her that really spoke to me about the character. Not only her as a performer, I'd just seen her in Mare of Easttown, the HBO series, which I loved. Yeah. But the way that she was talking about character and story and sort of the ideas that she had and the challenges that she was looking to take on, she was saying all the right things. So it was very clear once I met with Sosie that I wanted to push for her to be Rose. And I mean, she's got this really incredible innate ability to really ground a character and create this honest performance, so that by grounding Rose and making her real and feel honest, I think the audience, they're ready to go to all of the really heightened sort of extraordinary places that the character goes by the time she gets there, because she's drawn them in.
Well, and I mean, it's one of those things that, you almost have to sell it, because I mean, a smile in and of itself feels innocuous, but I mean, just the way of the smile and then her reaction to the smile and then sort of building that in. I mean, how did you sort of establish, I guess, like I said, sort of that vortex that we get sucked into of, okay, they're not just smiling, they're smiling.
Yeah. I mean, that's all sort of the elements, I think, of filmmaking coming together. Obviously a huge part of that is performance, but it's about, the moments that we're creating around it, and really, sinking the audience into the situation and really teaching the audience, how to watch the movie, I think is sort of part and parcel of what we were doing there, especially in the beginning, that gives you a lot of momentum as you go further. That, those smiles, they're like you said, obviously it's an innocuous thing, but I think all of the pieces coming together, the visuals, the score, the pacing, and how the two performers are interacting, creates this sort of scenario that you can't look away from, that just hopefully is like deeply chilling to the core. And Sosie's performance in those moments, I think, really does sell it.
Was it important for you to keep the gore sort of to a minimum? Because I mean, to me, I think that's what sold it even more.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I love gore when it's used correctly and sort of like,
Correctly. No, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, like, with precision. I wanted to make sure that the moments that do happen, that they hit hard. I don't want to desensitize an audience to what's going to happen in the film too quickly. So it's about, I mean, hopefully showing some restraint so that the moments that do hit even harder.
For sure, for sure. Now, I mean, I'm curious because I mean, the story is well known. This was originally going to go to the streaming service, and then it got released, and it's done so well. Like, it's been a weird, but really sort of, I've got to imagine, very sort of satisfying story of success for you. Is there any way to articulate sort of the ride that Smile has taken you on?
I mean, certainly it's been an incredibly surreal ride, and just, incredible. I feel so grateful for the opportunity to have gotten to even make this film, let alone have it be put out into the world the way that it has. But the most satisfying thing to me is just seeing, audience members like seem to really enjoy it. The people who've really enjoyed Smile. That's the reason you make movies, is for audiences, and hoping that they'll really get something out of it and really connect with the movie. And that's the most satisfying thing to me.
Well, I mean, it's the joy of cinema, and it's the joy of that shared community as well. And I mean, I'm kind
Totally.
of curious, like for you, what got you into this business? Like, what are the movies that kind of got you into this business? Because I mean, just in watching Smile, like I see a lot of different stuff.
I mean, a lot of things that certainly got me into it. I was a grew up in a sort of cinephile household. My dad was a big cinephile, but I grew up on a lot of horror movies. I remember the first time that I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street, or John Carpenter's The Thing, and how much those changed my life. I mean, The Shining is one of my favorite films of all time. It's something I'm constantly thinking about. Kubrick's one of my favorite directors. But also, I mean, honestly, like the films of, Spielberg and Cameron and Ridley Scott, and just these things that when I was a kid, that the entertainment value and the investment in the way they were crafted, and how many layers deep they were, how fully formed as ideas. I mean, those just sort of exploded my brain as a kid, and I think like a lot of that early stuff is what sort of set me on the path.
Now, I'm curious from your perspective, what is it about horror as a genre that allows for a freedom in storytelling? Because I mean, in horror, you can have a character concerned about another 1 minute, and then in the next minute, that character's peeling their face off.
Yeah, that's very specific. For me, what I really love about horror is, I mean, I think you get to sort of explore ideas through a vehicle that, if not for the genre elements, would almost be avant-garde, right? You can put things on screen, moment situations that sort of go above and beyond our normal reality. But I also think that horror is a great vehicle to explore different themes or motifs that, if not for the horror stuff, might be a little too heady or too bleak or too melodramatic. But it's the horror elements that turn it into sort of this like exciting roller coaster, that I think is a lot of fun. And for me, I love all kinds of horror, but the horror that I love best are the stories that are really concerned with like a compelling character story, and the sort of the human condition. I think that kind of stuff is really important, and that's what lingers with me long after the credits roll.
Well, and I mean, I think you've done that with this, because I mean, it's not a film about the resolution. It's a film about understanding the ride and having sort of a greater understanding of this, I guess trauma would probably be the right word. I mean, for you, how important is it to craft something that has audiences talking sort of well after, as opposed to, oh well, they killed the bad guy and then we're done? Like this is a movie that will have people talking and rewatching over and over again.
Oh, well, I hope so. I hope you're right. That would be incredible. For me, I think I just sort of set out to make, just sort of chase what really interests me, and make, the best film that I can with the resources that I have. And, I think once you sort of release it, it's in the audience's hands now. And I want audiences to sort of, bring themselves to it, and sort of have some of their own interpretations, things like that. If you can you know, if we're so lucky is that people want to talk about Smile afterwards and rewatch it and think about it more and more. I mean, that's incredible. But, you know, I mean, all I can do as the filmmaker is, you know, make the film I set out to do it and hope that people grab onto it and want to have conversations about it.
Well, I think you've done that and then some, man. But I mean, again, congrats on the good work, and thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.